Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Jai Jai Kaviraj Swami Mahasaya Jai Shri Parivar Ki Jai Jai Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Jai Gaur Prem Tonight we come to chapter 9 of Audarya. Here in this chapter, it's a brief chapter, and we find a metaphorical description of the tree of love of God, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu plants and is the gardener of and becomes, and whose roots extend downward are described, whose main trunk is described as branching into two main trunks, and then off of those main trunks, innumerable branches. It's compared to a fig tree. Fig is in the banyan family, the fig tree, and the banyan tree, both actually are mentioned about the Rasamrita Sindhu as worshipable sacred trees. So it's one of the angas, the limbs of bhakti. Worship the sacred banyan fig tree. We have a fig orchard here that we've created. But anyway, here in this chapter, the fruits of the tree, he begins to speak of them that are numerous, expanding on all branches, like a great fig tree, he says, need to be distributed widely, and he is but one person, one gardener. What can he do? There's so many figs. We know what they're going to experience is like to some extent. This metaphor for the fruits of love of God, praying the tree is the tree of love of God, metaphorical tree of love of God. Having described the tree and the problem of its many fruits, need to distribute them, he calls upon everyone to participate in the distribution. And so the chapter segues into a very strong emphasis on doing good for others, which the tree is also a metaphor for, as invoked in the Shikshastakam, where Mahaprabhu says that we should be tolerant like a tree. And the description of that tolerance that the tree represents in the text of Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the description of the explanation of the Shastakam, the last chapter of the book, that tolerance of the tree extends into a compassionate giving of shelter to others, in this case, fruits, flowers, and so forth. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will invoke some verses from the Bhagavatam at the end of this chapter also. Beautiful verses from the 22nd chapter of the 10th canto, where Krishna is at some distance from the Vrindavan forest. In the forest, there are 12 forests that make up the French Mandal. At some distance, maybe in Kamyavan, which is nearing the borders of the Mathura district, and areas associated with his various friends, Stopa Krishna, Hamsu, Sridham, Subal, the Arjuna of Braj, Vishal, Rishabha, Ojasvi, Devaprastha, Varutapa, representing the 10 directions. 10 directions means north, south, east, and west is 4. Then northwest, northwest, northeast, southeast, and southwest makes 8. And up is 9, and down is 10. And these boys are thought to surround Krishna, protect him on all sides, in all directions. Devaprastha is the down, so he sweeps the pathways, and we wonder how the up and down plays out. And so then Varutapa is behind with an umbrella, protecting over the head and on the ground in the directions, beautifully described there in Bhagavatam. These boys are mentioned. And speaking to them, Krishna refers to it explains his vision of the trees and their magnanimity, how they extend themselves to the humans in so many ways, and how so many of their ingredients, the bark can be used for clothes, for rishis, and leaves have various uses, obviously, and fruits and branches and roots and everything, and sap. And so he describes them as a very magnanimous species of givers to the human society. And then he implores us, in speaking to the boys, to all become participate in the welfare of others. Human life is meant for the participation in the welfare of others. The ultimate welfare, of which the upakar means welfare, is the par upakar, means a transcendental well-being, a transcendental compassion that mundane compassion is a shadow of, to minister to the need of the self, the Atma. We don't neglect the needs of the or the material conditions of need and so forth, but to tender to them at the cost of tendering to the self is certainly not the full face of compassion. So upakar, par upakar, this word is used here in this chapter in the end, refers to the transcendental distribution of the fruits of love of God. Included within that should be some sensibilities, naturally, and empathy, I should say, for the suffering conditions of others, whatever they may be. We don't forego the ministering to the self and the direct distribution of the prema as it is distributed through sharing the knowledge of Krishna and teaching the practices and so forth as we're doing here tonight. I don't give us up to go open a soup kitchen on Thanksgiving, but that's not that we don't uh, empathize with the physical hunger of the world. We don't see that feeding people is a solution to hunger. It only lasts a little while and then hunger comes back again. Obviously, so it is with all material conditions, but we certainly empathize with them. We don't give up the higher call as we're called to be involved in for the lesser call of compassion, but we don't embrace the higher call in a way that makes us steely and cold, as if it's the tough karma of people. And we don't want to be involved in their suffering. This is a problem that sometimes occurs in those who misunderstand the teaching. That you want to become, if one is progressing, soft-hearted but then wise in terms of how to apply one's soft-heartedness to do the best, most good that one can. I've told before the famous, because I've said it a few times, the story of how Prabhupada was standing on a balcony in a rented house in Calcutta, and there was a beggar down below, maybe without an arm or something like that. And one of his disciples said to Prabhupada, sometimes I actually feel compassionate for them, as if I'm sorry that I'm in Maya, that I feel sorry for material conditions. I know it's just his karma. And Prabhupada replied him, why only sometimes? So the shadow of compassion, if you will, is included within the full face of compassion. An interesting topic that we'll go into a little bit. We were discussing a little bit the other day. In terms of compassion being the basis of morally upright pursuit, and that which it culminates in. So we'll get to that time. This is an overview, anyway, of the chapter, most of which is involved in just talking about the tree and its different branches and so forth. This chapter, incidentally, is followed by then 3 chapters, 10, 11, and 12, in which the principal devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who were more associated with him, and then those who were more associated with Nityananda Prabhu, those who came in the lineage and the following of Advaita, Gadadhar are mentioned over, let's just say, chapter 10, 11, and 12. And all of those mentioned that's the extended, those chapters constitute the extended description of this tree, in which the branches are listed, although there are many, there are innumerable and so forth, principal branches, and it basically refers to a good number of devotees. There's 64, maybe there's more. I never counted them there, but number of devotees who represent the eternal entourage of Krishna in Vrindavan, appearing with Krishna's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, before Krishna in Navadvip. So with them, the work is going on. They're like some sub-branch, some twig on the tree, something like that. That's always expanding and so forth. And so that concludes the 12th chapter, a good section of the theology and philosophy in terms of the Mongol verses and their explanation, and 14 of them a refutation of Advaitavad, Mayavad philosophy. In chapter 7, an explanation of further glorification of the Panchatattva and their method of distribution, the virtues of Krishna, Chaitanya, Gornam, mercy of Gaur Nityananda, and how Kaviraj Goswami came to write Chaitanya Charitamrita. Hmm? Then here in the ninth chapter, as I say, the metaphorical, allegorical tree of love of God is described. And then the branches and all the players, the principal players in the Gaur Lila are introduced. And then in chapter 13, the drama begins. And the advent of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the description of the conditions in Advait, the time, speaking about Madhavi Puri and Ishwar Puri and Sachi and Jagannath who came before him, and then the birth of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and so forth. This way the narrative proceeds. So we're in kind of a heading now towards the end of the introduction to the narrative, to Lila itself. Those chapters, the chapters that follow this one, 10, 11, and 12, really just consist of name after name after name after name of the different associates. It's a beautiful exercise to just sing them, commit them to memory, go over the chapters, and do kirtan of the names of the various associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and so forth. Not much explanation there. I mean, you could go into an elaborate explanation of each one and every one of them, as much as there has been something written about them. Many of them, not much. Some of them have been described in greater detail in the text and play a more prominent role in the text, and so forth. So some introductory commentary on them could be given in those sections, and most of them are mentioned in Kavi Karnapur's Gauragana Deshtipika. Gauragana, the group of Gaur, and the Dipika, description that sheds light, Dipika, on the Gauragana, the group of Gaur, and in light of who they are in the Krishna Lila. That's the idea. So we find the way in which Prabhupada treated those chapters was basically to refer to Gauragana Deshtipika for the most part in his comments and show us the connection between the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gaur Lila and who they are in Krishna Lila. So this is where we are in the great text of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Again, as is typical, his first verse is a verse of his own Sanskrit composition. Tam Srimat Krishna Chaitanya Devam Bande Jagadgurum Yasyam Kumpaya Swapi Mahaddim Samtaretsukam. It says, Tam Srimat Krishna Chaitanya Devam Bande. Let me offer my obeisances unto Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the Jagat Guru Yasya Anukumpaya, who's the Jagat Guru, the spiritual master of the world, who Anukumpaya, who's by whose mercy, he says, a dog can swim across the ocean. Difficult task. He wants to say, by his grace, then it's wonderful things can be accomplished. And he's really coming off from the previous chapter, he's really thinking, this is my situation. So by his grace, it's possible for me to write this book, which is an ocean of unlimited nectar and underlying philosophy and theology. It has no limits. Its depth is unfathomable. And I'm standing at the shore of it, really, and I've been asked to write about it. And My limitations are such that I feel like I'm a dog and I'm trying to swim across that ocean. How is it possible? By His grace, it's possible, and I will be successful. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya. Jai Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Gaurachandra. Jai Advaita Jai Jai Nityananda. Victory to Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who is known as Gaur Hari. He's the golden Hari. All glories to Advaita Acharya Nityananda Guru. Jai Jai Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Khan. Sarva Vishtu Puri Hetu Chahara Smaran. Glories to the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, head of the Srivas Thakur. In order to fulfill all my desires, I remember their lotus feet. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath. He chants the names of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Eshub Prashade Liki Chaitanya Lila Guna. Jani Vana Jani Koi Apna Shodhana. It is by the mercy of all these Vaishnavas and Gurus that I attempt to write about the pastimes and the qualities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whether I know it or not, it is for self-purification that I write this book. There's a famous verse that is said to have appeared from the Mahadev, Shiva deity in Varanasi and Benares, when the famous Sridhar Swami of ancient times wrote his commentary on the Bhagavatam that was not in line with Advaita Siddhanta. And Benares, you know, is kind of the center of Advaita Bhad. This is where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu converted Prakashananda Saraswati and so forth. There were no devotees there except Chandrasekhar and Tapamitra. Mahaprabhu sent Tapam there. So Sridhar Swami wrote the commentary, and the perspective on the commentary of Jiva Goswami, who cites him in his own commentary, Sanatan's who cites, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur cites, and so forth, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appreciated. There's a Lila that's described in Antu, the final section of Chaitanya Charitamrita, where the Mahaprabhu's Chaitanya Dev's appreciation of Sridhar Swami of yours is expressed to Vallabha, who's a later follower of the same lineage that Sridhar Swami came in, and a contemporary of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the commentary is described also in Tattva Sandarbha of Jiva Goswami, commentary of Sridhar Swami on the Bhagavatam, to be one in which he wrote with a preaching strategy, another example of a preaching strategy in mind. So he had wrote to Advaita in a circle of Advaitins for the most part. Came out with a Vaishnava commentary, but if you look at it from one side, it looks Advaita, and you look over here and say, that's not Advaita. And so Jiva Goswami says that he, basically, that's what he says, he had a preaching strategy to bring in the Advaitins, something like that. And they took note of it, and they thought, this is odd, this is, wait a minute here, this is not like, we explain everything, but it had Advaitin shades to it, something like that. So anyway, the old story is that the book commentary was placed before the deity of Shiva, and for him to weigh in on it himself, Shiva. And a verse came out of the deity somehow, and the verse is something like Rajo Veti, Sukham Veti, Raju Veti Veti Va. She was speaking. I know the meaning of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Hum Vedi, Sukho Veti. Sukadev knows the meaning. Raj Veti Veti Va. The Raj Parikshit may know it, he may not know it. But Sridhar Swami, the verse goes on, Sridhar Swami, by the grace of the Shringa Dev, he knows the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Shringadev was the Ishtadevata, the personal deity of Sridhar Swami. And the significance of this verse here, there's a similar verse that comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita without identifying where it comes from, where it is said, Ham Veti, Sukham Veti, Vyasu Veti, Naveti Va. I know that she was speaking. I forget. I know the meaning. Sukadev knows the meaning. Vyas may know the meaning. Vyas may not know the meaning. And the implication here is, this is the line that's important, and it comes in different ways. Raj may know the meaning, he may not. Richard North Vyas, the author, may know the meaning, may not. And it's more relative to hear what's being said by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. I'm writing it. I may know the meaning or I may not, but Madhu Gopal, through me, is speaking it. Something's coming. I'm making myself available for the divine flow, something like that. So Vyasa wrote the Bhagavatam. He may know the meaning, he may not know the meaning. Parikshit might have heard, he may not, but something like that. And the implication is that it's possible that things may come through us that we never heard before or thought of, and one may use devotees in certain ways. We look at the commentaries, for example, of the Goswamis on the Bhagavatam, and we think they know the Bhagavatam more than Vyas. How they're elaborating on it and explaining it. At least he might have known, but he didn't bring it out in such fullness as the commentaries do, and the implications and so on and so forth. We used to distribute Prabhupada's books, and sometimes you'd meet these people who didn't like the purports. They didn't like the idea that there were purports. They just wanted the text itself. And of course, to give a contrast, once when Prabhupada was working on his Gita commentary, he employed some of his disciples, as they did with all of his books, who knew Sanskrit, who had learned, to assist in the translations. And there was a question about some verse, and I think Prabhupada said, well, just, you don't know it, you just use so-and-so's translation. And then they said, that would be like plagiarism. He said, plagiarism, it's Krishna's words. Of course, there's a different sensibility in Indian tradition of commentarial tradition than there is in the West with regard to repeating what others say and not necessarily saying where it came from. You can find that sometimes. But anyway, Prabhupada wanted to say, anyway, the translation is not the main thing, it's the purport that matters. And we as a lineage are, of course, an example of that. It's the commentary and the explanation of the texts by our acharyas that form the sect or the lineage of Chaitanya Vaishnavism, of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. I had a discussion with a fellow once, another sannyasi who was emphasizing the commentaries of the Goswamis. He's a Sanskritist with a degree in Sanskrit and so forth, and he said, well, why don't we just go to the core books themselves? And he said that Chaitanya Charitamrita says that that the Bhagavatam itself is Krishna. So obviously, I said, yeah, that's what the Chaitanya Charitamrita says. That's what I mean. We have our own books. They take on a canonical type of scriptural. They're scripture for us, and they are the commentaries on the core texts that are commented on in different ways, and as a result, different lineages form and so forth. So again, underscoring the importance of the founding charges and their explanations and so forth. We followers of them should represent them accurately. So here, Krishna's Kavadas Goswami is saying, whether I know or not, I'm writing this for my own purification. Something's coming through me, and of course he's speaking humbly. We think he knows the meaning of what he's writing about, but his statement here brings that those verses I mentioned to mind. I believe the verse that I mentioned from Chaitanya Charitamrita, that's similar to the one that came from the deity of Mahadev. That verse goes on to say, but Sri Swami knows the meaning of Bhagavatam by the mercy of the Sringadev. The one in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the side that says Vyas may know, he may not know, Vyasa veti veti va, goes on to say, Nabudaya Natikaya. They want to say, not by intelligence and just studying the Tika, the commentary, can you know the Bhagavatam, but you have to surrender yourself. You have to hear the Tika, not for intellectual kind of titillation or something like that, but hear with a view to imbibe and put into practice that which is heard, and in this way builds, so to speak, a temple in the heart for Radha and Krishna to dwell in. By bhakti, it says, Namudaya Natikaya, only by bhakti will it be properly understood. Of course, it's bhakti to hear the tikas of our acharyas, and there's a spirit in which we will hear them, hear submissively, to hear for changing the heart, to use the head to soften the heart, not just to fill the head with some information and so forth. So I've got a nice spirit here of his writing, and we've been hearing this in the previous chapter as well. Here's another Sanskrit verse, here's of his own. Malakara Swayam Krishna. Prema Mara Charu Swayam. Data Bhukta Tat Bhavanam. Yastam Chaitanyam Ashraye. I take shelter of Swayam Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who himself is the tree of transcendental love of God, its gardener, and also the bestower and enjoyer of its fruits. Prabhu kahe ami Vishwambar Namdhari. Naam sartaka hoy yadi prema Vishwabhari. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prabhu kahe, he said, Ami Vishwambar Namdhari. I am Vishwambar, that is my name. So at birth he was given the name Vishwambar. It means Vishwam refers to the universe. Vishwambar means like the maintainer of the universe. So he said to himself, my name is Vishwambar, one who maintains the universe. Sa'artha, its meaning, its real meaning, The implications of it will be actualized if I can fill the whole universe with the love of God. So the way in which he maintains the world is not the way in which Vishnu is maintaining the world. It's in a special way. By the norm here is that Vishnu maintains the world. Vishnu, the one, Mahavishnu, becomes many, and from a homogenetic, from homogeneity to heterogeneity. The one becomes many. Of course, this is a beginning within no beginning. So this one becoming many happens again and again and again. There's no beginning to what's happening. One becoming many, one becoming many. And Lokava to Lila described out of joy, one becomes many. To expand his joy, so to speak. Just like if you're feeling happy, you want to throw a party, something like that. It also means that, because it's speaking about the manifesting of the world cycle, a kind of creation. Not really a creation, because he's not really making something out of nothing, for one, or even taking ingredients and, like a machinist, making something. The ingredients are already there. They're eternally existing. They have no beginning, and so forth. And they're manifesting and becoming unmanifest, waking and sleeping, so to speak, with his own movements. And this is an interesting concept. There are, in Christian theology, there are a couple of prominent schools today. The classical theists, and then there's the theistic personalists, as they're called, or sometimes the neo-theists. And the classical theists, they refer back to Aristotle, Plato, Aquinas, of the Catholics, and so forth, and these early writings, and they make have a sense of the Godhood who is the ground of being, and they more readily identify with other traditions who speak similarly, like the Vedanta tradition about the Godhead. And they distance themselves from the theistic personalists who have God's kind of like a maker. He's the intelligent designer. He's the intelligent designer. He's more intelligent in his design work because he can put the inorganic, non-living material parts together in a way that they become living. And this is an idea of the theistic personalists that is thought to be in opposition to materialism, which says that the non-living matter becomes living matter. So in one sense, the only difference is that they say that God put the puzzle together in a way that nobody else could, but non-living matter becomes living matter. So the classical theists, they don't like that idea. They're not for this intelligent design idea. And they think that the criticisms of the new atheists of theism is largely aimed at this theistic personalism, where God is not being itself, but a being, and is not goodness itself, but the perfect moral person, who's maybe has no body, but is um, more of a person somehow. So one school is less personal in their perspective and more metaphysical, and again, it identifies or corresponds more with some of the Indian Hindu notions of the Godhead, and the other is more easier in one sense to attack. Where is this guy? Living in the sky somewhere, or something like that. Of course, there are sophisticated arguments on the part of the both groups, but while the classical theists tend to dismiss the theistic personalists' conception of the person of God, they, on the other, in turn, and think you're just playing in the hands of the atheists. It's easier for them to defeat you. They, on the other hand, dismiss the classical theists' idea of God, which is so vague that they think that sounds kind of like you sound like a pantheist practically, and where is that compassionate God? And he's disappeared, and so forth. So these are two schools of thought, and our tradition, on the other hand, seems to dismiss the theistic personalism and the kind of limited idea of God being a person that the classical theists dismiss. And it identifies with God as the ground of being, but then, or Brahman, but then going further on the other side, this Brahman is a person, and Brahman is actually that person is really the basis of Brahman. And as I've explained it, that Brahman is everywhere, the ground of being, and in relation to bhakti, then that ground of being is moving, dancing, and becomes concentrated, becomes a super person. You follow me? So when we speak of Krishna, then we have to differentiate. It's not the Krishna, the God, the sky god type, who's the creator, but he is being itself. And so it's an interesting idea where we kind of include both. The personality of the God that is there, the personal possibility, the personal relationship is there in transcendence and the meditative realm and so forth. And he is also the ground of being. And this is what Krishna says in the Gita, that everything's in me and I'm apart from everything as well. So this is a panentheistic idea, and there are different versions of panentheism, but ours is one in which, many of which, the versions of panentheism, this classical theism differentiates itself from Christian panentheism, but it has some similarities to it, in that the God tends to be vague in the Christian versions of panentheism, which is becoming more popular now. But in our form of panentheism, obviously the personality of God is not vague at all. The descriptions of him are very detailed, and there's an underlying philosophy to him that, as I say, makes him, to use, I think, Paul Tillich, the theologian's phrase, the ground of being. He is Brahman. He is the, well, to use our term, the Param Brahman, the Para Brahman, Brahman and more, something like that. Satchidananda, concentrated. His movement is not the karmic movement, it's a different kind of movement, Lila. So we have a good something to offer there, it would seem. So now we got into that. We're speaking about Vishvambar. So here, Vishvambar is a name for Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu is the ground of being. He's the maintainer of the world. Another expression of the very ground of being of the Godhead. And he one becomes many, and it's like I said, if you are alone and you're happy, you want to throw a party. So he becomes many. Becomes many out of love means, out of Lila means not that he has anything to accomplish. He needs something. So the movement of the Godhead is not out of necessity, out of a lacking, but out of a fullness. So in celebration of himself, he throws a party. And so he manifests people for the party, something like that. That's us. This is the Tatasta Shakti, the Jiva Shakti. It's not that he's creating them at a certain time. They are always existing, and they come issue forth, and the party's over, so to speak. At night, they go back in. And of course, because he presides over the Maya Shakti, then there becomes a problem for the jivas, which are of the imprint of him, like him, but different from him. Someone asked today on the Tattva Vivek, I didn't answer it, but he asked, is Krishna in the heart inherent in every Atma? The answer is no. Krishna is not in every Atma. The Paramatma feature of Bhagavan Sri Krishna is in every Atma, but how is he in every Atma? Jiva Goswami describes in Paramatma Sandarbha the various qualities or attributes or aspects, what a jiva is constituted of, the last of which is that he has a bond with the Paramatma. So you have to understand, like we have a bond with our source. So our source is inside us in that way. There's a natural tendency of any child to seek out their source if they don't know, if they're adopted, for example. You find Brahma seeking his source. Who am I? Where am I from? What's my family tree? You can get on the internet and find out, you put in your DNA and they trace it out for you. You can find your relatives and so forth. So this is a popular kind of a thing. So in this sense, Vishnu means all pervasive. He's everywhere. But these things, just like we say, panentheism, it means pan, everywhere, everything, and in God. But it is not necessarily location that it's speaking of. Different ways in which it could be in, everything could be in God. So, Mahavishnu, the world expands, right? And he maintains the world as the witness, and he's described figuratively as like one of two birds in the body, the tree, which is the body. The other bird is the Jivatma. As the Paramatma, he's sitting in the same tree, and he's witnessing the other bird that's tasting bitter and sweet fruits. That means involved in the karmic life, witnessing and fulfilling, sanctioning desires, and so on and so forth. And because of the plight of the jiva, manifests, makes avatar, or the guru comes, directs us towards him within. So when we say that Vishnu is the maintainer of the world, it's good to talk a little bit about what the world is and how he's maintaining. Yes, he's maintaining, making it all go on, but really his whole ambition, in one sense, spiritual ambition, joyful Lila, this is called the Shrishti Lila, is that the Jivas will meet their maker, join the party in Vaikuntha. He is the first manifestation of Narayan outside of Vaikuntha, so that Narayan can experience compassion. And there's a corresponding world, as we've explained, and so forth. So this is the whole Shrishti Lila. It's really full of compassion. It's really based on compassion, the desire of Narayan to experience compassion. So he's nourishing the world, maintaining the world in this way, with these things in mind. And so here comes Vishwambar, Sriman Mahaprabhu, Vishwambar Mishra, named Vishwambar, the maintainer of the world. And he thinks, well, Vishnu is the maintainer of the world, and really he's sustaining it, maintaining it, and its whole purpose is to that the jivas may attain mukti. There's different kinds of mukti, of course. Mostly he was speaking about Vaishnava mukti, joining the Narayan and his planet and being one of his associates, having opulences like Narayan, form like Narayan, and so on and so forth. There's Sayuja mukti is there also. That's thought to be, from the Gaudiya perspective, somewhat undesirable, and one goes there by Gyan mixed with bhakti. But at any rate, he wants them to meet their maker and enter and be liberated. And so Mahaprabhu's Vishwambar, he wants us to, but he is the bearer of something more than Vishnu. This is a special dispensation. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. He's not an avatar of Vishnu. And we know from earlier in the pages of Chaitanya Charitamrita through the pen of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Krishna speaking, saying, I would like to let the jivas meet with me personally, closely, get to know me as I am. If they worship me at all, they do it either for things for the most part, or for getting away from things, or for me some formal reverential relationship with me. That doesn't do much for me, Krishna speaking. So that's the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's a special advent of Krishna who wants to bestow hard bhakti. And so he's coming in place of the Yuga avatar. So this is a very special concession, time of argument of the Vrindavan. That's not something that's inherent in everyone, obviously. It's inherent, then what are you going to bestow? It's already there. There's no special gift. The gift of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Special concession in the midst of the work of Mahavishnu, kind of like, the penthouse suite has been opened up top and in the party, and you can go up there and meet, the person who's behind it all, something like that, intimate terms. So he's thinking like this, and if my name is to be realized, then I will have to fill the whole world with praying. I have to give my this is what I have. I'm the maintainer of the world, but in a special way. With Mahavishnu will do, try to give prema of Vaikuntha, but I'm giving you something more. Eta chinti loila prabhu malakardhanam navadvipe arambila phalo dhyana karma. Thinking in this way, he accepted the duty of a gardener and began to grow a garden in Navadvip. That's a nice metaphor. Sri Chaitanya Malakar Pritipiti Ani Bhakti Kalpataru Rupila Sinchi Icha Pani. Thus the Lord brought the desire tree of bhakti, Bhakti Kalpataru, to this earth and became its gardener. He sowed the seed and sprinkled upon it the water of his will. Jai Sri Madhavendra Puri Krishna Prem Pura Bhakti Kalpataru Tenho Pratama Ankur. So we know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu founded his own sampradaya, but we know also that he had a guru, and we know about his Param Guru. Ishwar Puri was his guru, the Param Guru was Madhavendra Puri. So here he says that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought a Kalpavriksha. Kalpavriksha is the desire tree, the proverbial desire tree from which all of anyone's desires can be fulfilled. And he says, glories to Madhavendra Puri, the storehouse of devotional service unto Krishna. He is a desire tree of bhakti, and it is in him that the seed of bhakti first fructified. This means the seed of what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give, which is again different from what you find in the Madhva Sampradaya. Ishwar Puri is coming in the Madhva, and Madhavendra Puri coming in the Madhva Sampradaya, but something different is appearing in the Sampradaya, some different possibility than previous to the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's descent. And so what's being said here is that he arranged, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arranged for Madhavendra Puri to come to the world, his Param Guru, and in the Madhva Sampradaya, and in him that in him the love for Krishna in the mood of Radha manifest. This is described later on in the narrative when Madhavendra Puri is leaving the world and he's lamenting in the mood of Radha. And one of his disciples goes, Gurudev, at the time of death we shouldn't lament about anything. That was, what was his name? Ramchandra Puri. He was dismissed, and Ishwar Puri was tending to the bodily necessities of Madhavendra Puri, and was not confused by such. He got that same bhava, and also the blessing to become the guru of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has a guru, Param Guru, and so forth, but he's arranged for them to appear in the world. He's arranged for this seed of what he's about, the love that he's about, to appear in the person of Madhavendra Puri. So this is figuratively speaking in the context of this metaphor for the tree. Ishwar Puri is the seed. It means that in the world, in terms of a sampradaya, a lineage through which a certain spiritual ideal will be systematically taught, we find this first in Madhavendra Puri. The ideals of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are in the Bhagavatam, obviously. They're in the writing of Jayadev Goswami, Skita Govinda, Chandidas, these poets also who were bards, minstrels who traveled around. Mahaprabhu used to cite their verses and like their verses, and the idea of Radha Dasyam, or let us say Radha's love for Krishna, Radha Bhav, Radha Prem, is found there, but it's not taught there, and they can be misinterpreted just to be ordinary love poems and so on and so forth. But in terms of being taught in a systematic way in a sampradaya, this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was doing, and in that sampradaya, it's in the Madhva Sampradaya, but we find this wonderful thing coming out of Madhavendra Puri. It couldn't have come from Madhva. Where does it come from? Here we find Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arranged it. So figuratively, he's saying that Madhavendra Puri is a desire tree, and and I took a seed from there and planted it, and it's this conception is growing in him, passed on to Ishvara Puri, and Puri came, so on and so forth. So in this way, Madhava Puri is sometimes described as a desire tree. And I think in Gauragana Veshtipika, he's described as a kalpa riksha of Vrindavan. It's figurative. I mean, he's in Gopi Baba, of course, the trees, the creepers, the vines, and whatnot. The vines in particular are described as being Madhurya Rasa. Trees maybe also Sakya Rasa. Shri Ishwar Puri Rupe Ankur Pushta Huila. Apana Chaitanya Mali Skanda Upadila. The seed of devotional service next fructified in the form of Shri Ishwar Puri, as I've been describing. And then the gardener himself, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, became the main trunk of the tree of bhakti. Nija Chintya Shakti Mali Skanda Hoy Sakala Sakhar Se Skanda Mula Shrai. By his Achintya Shakti, his inconceivable power, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became the gardener, the trunk, and the branches simultaneously. To be inconceivable, to do all those things at once. To be the tree, to be the gardener of the tree, to be the branches. Of course, the branches are the different devotees as well, but they are one with him, is the point. The tree of love of God is one with him. Paramananda Puri Ar Keshava Bharati, Brahmananda Puri Ar Brahmananda Bharati, Vishnu Puri Keshu Puri Puri Krishnananda, Srinasingha Tirtha Ar Puri Sukhananda, Evan Nishkar, Evan Nalamula, Nasi Nikashila, Vikshamule, Enavamule, Viksha, Korila Nischale. So here he names the 9 roots of the tree. We got the seed, it's sprouting. Seed, it's sprout. Seed in the form of Madhava Puri, the sprout in the form of Ishwar Puri. And of course, Madhava becomes the trunk, and the trunk expands, and Advaita and Nityananda, and the many branches, so forth. And then the roots. So the roots are described. Who are they? They are the Navamula, Nikasila Vikshamule. These are the roots, the 9 roots. They are the 9 sannyasis in Chaitanya Lila, who are sannyasis, 9 principal sannyasi, elders of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And their names are given: Paramananda Puri, Keshava Bharati, Brahmananda Puri, Brahmananda Bharati, Vishnu Puri, Kesha Puri, Krishnananda Puri, Sri Nrsimha Tirtha, and Sukhananda Puri. These are the names. Puri, Tirtha, Bharati. These are the sannyas names, and then individual Tirthas, individual Puris, individual Tirtha Puri, Bharati. So it's significant that they are compared to the roots, because obviously the tree of devotional service, which is full of fruits of love of God, and it's moving. It will be described later as a moving tree. It dances and so on and so forth. And all of this movement of love of God that looks worldly, it looks like the worldly activity, but is entirely different, super transcendental, is rooted in renunciation. The seed is a bhakti, but bhakti goes up and it goes down. So that mukti nitarupam swarupena vastitihi. Our bhakti is such that Chetadarpana Martin, that cleanses the heart. There is detachment. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Ashubhai Viragyam Jnanam Chayam. Because by practicing bhakti, one becomes detached. So we're not rooted in the world. We're rooted in detachment, exemplified by sannyasis. These were older, senior men. Brahmananda Bharati was known to only wear a deer skin, for example. And these were seniors to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Brahmananda Puri was the main, how do you call it, taproot, the taproot. So he went down in the center, and 8 others coming out like this, around, holding the tree. And they were all seniors, elders of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He respected them. They were initiated by Madhavendra Puri and a number of them, at least not all of them. I don't think their gurus are mentioned, but Brahmananda Puri is the most famous one of them. He's a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, who would be then a god brother of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's guru, Ishwar Puri. So Mahaprabhu showed so much respect for him. He said at one point, "I'm only living in the world because of the good behavior of Brahmananda Puri." Brahmananda Puri was thought to be Uddhava of Krishna Lila, Krishna's advisor. So Gaur Lila, he's advising Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at different times. Mahaprabhu was respecting him just like his own guru, Ishwar Puri. Brahmananda Puri came to Jagannath Puri, spent time with Chaitanya. Brahmananda Bharati was there also. Keshava Bharati, of course, is his sannyas guru, who's thought to be Sandipani Muni, and sometimes he's thought to be Akrura, who took Krishna away from Mathura, from Vrindavan. So Keshava Bharati, giving a sannyas, took Chaitanya Mahaprabhu away from Navadvip. Akrura's a devotee too. Gopi's Kirsten. So anyway, they're very special persons, and they were extremely renounced people. Of course, they were men. They were very intimidated at the same time by the renunciation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a 25-year-old, 24-year-old boy. His standards of renunciation frightened them, made them feel like themselves like sense enjoyers, comparatively. So it's a good point. It's emphasized here that this love and love affairs of Radha and Krishna, music, the dance, and the feasting, and the apparent worldliness, and so forth, of Chaitanya Lila and of Krishna Lila is rooted in detachment from the world. It's not, again, that we cultivate detachment directly. We cultivate love of God, but this detachment should be coming about. So roots go down if the tree is to go up. Sprout comes and roots are going down. So it's going in both ways at the same time. The roots, of course, will only go so deep, and the tree will go very, very high. Right. Enter into Goloka.
Like a redwood tree.
Like a redwood tree. That's right. So this will stop here tonight with the description of the roots of the tree. We can get our feet on the ground as we look up to the various trunk, the various branches and fruits of the love of God. Supreme Bhakti ki jai. Any question? Yes.
What could be a Saraswati explanation of when he says that he does it for his own purification?
Saraswati explanation?
Yeah, like when is it when like Jiva Goswami comments on something Rupa Goswami says like that, and then when Jiva Goswami says this is Saraswati, like he kind of twists his words to mean.
No, I see what you mean. On what now? Saraswati's explanation of what? When Krishnadas says, "I may know them. I'm just doing this for my own purification," and you want us to say, something that, well, it sounds humble or something. I hadn't thought about that. You know what he's asking about? Like some, like I've said before, for example, Krishna says, I'm lower than the worm in the stool. Anyone who chants my name, anyone who hears my name will lose their piety. Anybody who chants my name will commit impious acts. And so our interpretation of it, which is sometimes means that, like they say, like Saraswati, the goddess of learning, is dancing on his tongue. He's saying one thing, it sounds like one thing, but the real meaning is anyone who hears my name will lose all their
Karma.
the bad karma, and anyone or good karma, and anyone who chants my name will perform will be involved in bad karma, the inappropriate activities of Goloka, assisting Radha and Krishna in their parakiya, something like that. So we find something positive in it, while he's deprecating himself and so forth. I don't know how you will think about what he says here. It's obviously he's very humble, and he says, I'm writing this book. I mean, the meaning, I mean, more or less he's saying. Of course, we know he knows the meaning. But at the moment, all I can say is he's very humble. That's a very good example in this regard. He is really the prominent example of the humility that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mandates in Shikshastakam, Krishna's Kandaracha Swami. He comes up repeatedly in his writing. What else? What's the time?
7:50.
Oh, okay, we'll stop there. Mahaprabhu. Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Jai. Lakshmi Swarima Samaya. Jai. Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. Jai. Parivar ki Jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Gaur Premanande.
Haribo. Jai.